Jadon Sancho hasn't trained or played for Manchester United ever since he fell out with Erik ten Hag after the Arsenal defeat. But Jadon Sancho is back training with Manchester United. Jadon Sancho and Erik ten Hag have apologised to each other. I'm going to run through what the news is, what's been reported by Manchester United in a statement, but there's a picture right there of Jadon Sancho back in training. I fully expected him to be sold this summer. What, are we apologising now? Why now instead of all those months ago? Seems a bit pointless. I don't really know. I'm going to run through all of this first, and you can let me know what you think in the comments. This is the statement from Manchester United. Week 1 of pre-season training continues apace at Carrington, blah, blah, blah. A group of senior players, including the likes of Onana, Casemiro, Mason Mount, and Marcus Rashford all returned. Jadon Sancho returned for testing on Wednesday following his loan spell at Dortmund. The 24-year-old then trained with the group on Thursday. Fabrizio saying that Jadon Sancho held positive face-to-face meetings with Erik ten Hag this week, and they've clarified the situation. Both ten Hag and Sancho agreed to draw a line on their disagreement and move on. Jadon is available for pre-season games. He's back in training. The Athletic are reporting this. Jadon Sancho has returned following a meeting with Erik ten Hag this week. Sancho rejoined, blah, 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 blah. He returned to United's facilities this week with the first team squad with his meeting with ten Hag to draw a line, and they agreed to move on. Anybody see this coming? I did not see this even slightly coming. Jadon Sancho. My first immediate reaction here is, why now? Why has it taken this long for the apology to happen? You know, Benny McCarthy was saying, oh, Jadon Sancho's from the streets and, you can't do it. It's like, mate, you're a professional footballer. Oh, the streets. No, man. You can't call your manager a liar and expect to get away with it. It does not matter. You know, one thing I would say here straight away, and this is probably a big reason that's part of it. Ruud van Nistelrooy and René Hakke have both come in as new assistant managers, and Mitchell van der Gag has left. Now, was the disagreement directly between... Well, Erik ten Hag was the manager who said after the Arsenal game that he wasn't... he wasn't even that bad. He just said that he wasn't training properly with the right intensity. Pep Guardiola called, what's his face? Fat. Can't remember that midfielder. He called him fat. And then, who's at Chelsea? Is it Madueke? Pochettino was like, not slapping him up physically, but he was just saying that he wasn't training, and he came back in and he was great. But Sancho refused to apologise to the point where he went to Dortmund. And can I just say this as well? I literally tweeted this an hour ago. Dortmund gaslighted the hell out of Jadon Sancho. Oh, we never forgot you. We know this. You're great to us. But yeah, we're not going to pay any money for you. If we get you for free, yeah, we love you. But if we've actually got to pay money for, no, never mind. We'll just give the number 10 out to Julian Brand instead. They gaslighted the crap out of him. But I did not expect Jadon Sancho to come back to the squad. Now, what does that mean for our options next season? Look, we're going to be a very different team next season. And it's going to be a very different environment. And as I said, I think that's a big reason why this is even possible. I think if Mitchell van der Gag was still there, and if Erik ten Hag was still there, and it was the same coaching environment, and there was no real change at Carrington, I don't particularly think that would have been something that could have been, maybe it could have been resolved. Maybe after the goodness that, space is sometimes a healer. Space can sometimes let things dissipate and dissolve, and the dispute can be buried, and you go, you know what? I'm sorry. And maybe they both apologized to each other, and they both drew a line in the sand, shook hands as professionals, as men, and said, let's move on. Because Jadon Sancho, we're going to go back to the same old argument we've had before. Jadon Sancho is an extremely talented footballer. Jadon Sancho has always been an extremely talented footballer, but his attitude has stunk. And I don't care what you say about that. It stunk. Erik ten Hag shouldn't have called him out in public. And I'm going to rewind to the old argument we've had. He gave him 3 months off in mid-season when he was desperate. That was at the time where Ronaldo was falling out with him, and he needed his attackers. But he gave Sancho 3 months off because he saw him and realised he needs a bit of space. I don't think this is the right environment for him. And what happened as a consequence of that? Nothing. The exact same Sancho came back. If Sancho's going to, and I've said this before quite a few times in the live show, had it gone down the way that we thought it was going to go down, and Sancho had left, then I think Sancho would have looked back at his Manchester United career and regretted it. but he's actually getting the opportunity to play for Manchester United again. We're going to see Jadon Sancho in a United shirt. And as I said, what does that mean for our squad? Jadon Sancho, we know full well now that he wants to play off the left. That's where he wants to play. So what is it? Is it Sancho and Rashford on the left-hand side and Garnacho and Ahmad on the right? I genuinely do think that I preferred Garnacho on the right-hand side. As efficient as he was on the left, I thought he's got the ability to go inside and outside more so than most of our other wingers. And I would prefer to see Garnacho on the right because he can be a real threat there. So Sancho and Rashford on the left, Garnacho and Ahmad on the right. Anthony, in an ideal world, we'd sell Anthony this summer. Not that Jadon Sancho coming in means that we have to sell him, but I wanted to sell him anyway. And if we're going to keep Jadon Sancho, there's not really any space there for Anthony because I'm putting Ahmad ahead of him in the pecking order. But, I mean, what's your reaction to this? As I said, it annoys me that this can be resolved now and that it couldn't have been resolved before. But I suppose it's the time is a healer and all that jazz. Jadon Sancho's back. And you know what's part of that? I think United really struggled to sell him. Truth be told, I think if United could have sold him, I think United would have sold him by now. And maybe I'm wrong on that. And maybe it'll come out and we'll find out about that. But Juve were interested in him and they didn't want to pay the wages. Dortmund were interested in him and they didn't want to pay the wages. And I think it's another example of a player that possibly we could move on and actually get good money for. But because they're on so much money at our football club, no other club wants to pay for them. And now Jadon Sancho's back. So I think what's being reported here in terms of when he could be back. Could he play in the first game? I don't think he's going to be available. There you go. He will not travel to Norway for the game against Rosenborg. But he will be available after that with the expectation that he will take full part in United's pre-season. So you let me know in the comments, right? Do you think we now see a Sancho reborn? We have to see a Sancho reborn. It is a one-season opportunity because Sancho has had opportunities at Manchester United. And truth be told, you shouldn't get just bucket loads of endless opportunities at clubs the size of Manchester United. You have to make the most of your opportunities. If you do, you fly and the fans will support you. But if you don't, then you will be moved on and you will be replaced. And as I said, I'm of the opinion that if Manchester United were able to sell Jadon Sancho by this point this summer, I think we would have sold Jadon Sancho. You all know my opinions on his attitude. If Jadon now can come through this and completely prove any doubts that I had wrong about his character, then I will happily shift my opinion is not set on Jadon Sancho. It is right now, but that's because of what I've seen. Jadon, you've got an opportunity to prove yourself. Prove me wrong. And prove lots of United fans wrong. Because I didn't see this coming. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Real surprise, this.